Climate change is the greatest threat to future generations and the planet. Everybody must act now to make a significant change and save the Earth. People need to know what global warming is and how they can help reduce it. President Obama said that he believes that no challenge poses a greater threat to our children, our planet, and future generations than climate change, and that no other country on Earth is better equipped to lead the world towards a solution. An explanation on how global warming works. Touching a burning hot seatbelt buckle on a warm summer day can really give a good burn. How does it get to be so hot? The handle on the car door isn't nearly as hot when touched, right? The reason is the same reason how our planet regulates its temperature. It's the greenhouse effect. Light goes right through the window as ultraviolet light is absorbed by the seats, dashboard, and everything else. That heat is radiated from those objects as infrared light, which cannot pass back out through the glass, so it is trapped in the air inside the car. Just replace the car's interior with the Earth and the car windows with the atmosphere, and our climate functions the same way. So why is this a problem? Can the changing climate really be the fault of humanity? The answer is a definite yes. To understand the trend of global warming, people need to understand how the Earth has maintained a habitable temperature over millions of years. The Earth has many different feedback cycles that kick in when the temperature is getting too hot or too cold, which involve adding or removing carbon, usually in the form of CO2, or also known as carbon dioxide, from the atmosphere. Carbon in the form of CO2 gas is the main player in the greenhouse effect. In the billions of years that Earth has been around, it has gone through many stages ranging from very hot to very cold, but never far enough to remove liquid water from its surface. The short of this is when it gets too cold, CO2 is released into the air to intensify the greenhouse effect and warm the Earth. When it gets too hot, CO2 is taken out of the air to reduce the greenhouse effect and help it cool back down. So then, how do humans fit into this global and ancient thermostat? Humans have a passion for using carbon-rich material and releasing its carbon as CO2 into the atmosphere. The main human activity that emits CO2 is the combustion of fossil fuels, coal, natural gas, and oil, for the energy and transportation, although certain industrial processes and land use changes also emit CO2. By releasing unnatural amounts of CO2 with our power plants, shipping, cars, and industry, we have increased the greenhouse effect and therefore heated the Earth. So how can we help reduce global warming? There are several ways to fix this problem, all of which have their positives and negatives. There are 4 major strategies to reduce the carbon dioxide emissions, which are energy efficiency, energy conservation, fuel switching, and carbon capture and sequestration. Energy efficiency technique can be exercised by improving the insulation of buildings, traveling in more fuel-efficient vehicles, and using more efficient electrical appliances. These are all ways to reduce energy consumption and thus CO2 emissions. This strategy is all about making upgrading vehicles and homes so they consume less electricity. The strategy of energy conservation is all about changing everyday habits. Reducing personal energy use by turning off lights and electronics when not in use reduces electricity demand. This strategy also includes the reduction of driving to decrease the amount of carbon dioxide produced by vehicles. Energy conservation means using as little fuel and power as possible. So say goodbye to the expensive car and say hello to public transportation. Fuel switching is all about changing fossil-based fuels to an effective, non-carbon dioxide producing energy. A popular example is the electrical car. Cars running only on electricity have zero tailpipe emissions, but emissions may be produced by the source of electrical power, such as a power plant. When comparing an all-electric vehicle to a gasoline vehicle, the electrical car only produces half of the CO2 that its gasoline counterpart produces. The final strategy is carbon capture and sequestration, or CCS for short. CCS is a process that captures 90% of the carbon dioxide produced by power plants and factories, which means that only 10% would be released into the atmosphere. The carbon dioxide will be transformed into a liquid state where it will be pumped deep underground via pipeline. This process is an emulation of how the Earth captures carbon dioxide in nature. This technique will decrease the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, thus reducing the rate of global warming. It is also safe and causes no harm to the environment. The most promising solution seems to be sequestration of CO2, considering all the different approaches that can be taken. CO2 could potentially be stored in aquifers in the North Sea, geological storage such as oil wells, depleted oil wells, gas wells, and coal beds. Types of sequestration include low temperature distillation, geological, or physical and chemical absorption. Technology has increased a lot since research on cutting CO2 emissions was initially started, and is now more efficient than ever. Using this method helps improve technological advancement due to sequestration-based research. Knowing this, now may be the best time to begin geological sequestration of CO2. Dr. Kurt M. White and his team from the National Energy Technology Laboratory in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, have researched the storage of CO2 in saline aquifers and found it to be promising. They found that when CO2 is injected underground, it reacts well with the sedimentary rock and can be stored within. There is enough land available, with many aquifers spread all throughout the United States. Sequestration can help to overcome technological inertia, to reduce marginal costs via learning by doing, and to increase per capita consumption. In order for any of this to be possible, funding must be provided and actions must be taken. CO2 emissions has been a rising problem for a long time. Technology has come a long way since the first rise of CO2 emissions in the 1800s and can now be used for CO2 mitigation. Using the best technology, resources, and working with others are keys to this conflict resolution. If greenhouse gases are not mitigated soon, then the future generations of the human race will have to suffer. Humans are the cause for global warming and must find a way to end it. With so many options available, something needs to be decided, and that decision is up to the people of the world.